Welcome. This week we're going to talk about Parshas Chayei. But before we begin, I would just like to add something to part of what we spoke about last week. We spoke about the problem of telling midrashim to children that are strange, and they strain the credulity of children. And like the Sefer Chassidim says, I mentioned it last week, I'll read it again. Ein megalin agoda tmua lektanim, pen yomer ein bei mamish. You can't tell a strange agoda, a medrash, agada to Gemara, to children, because they'll say that there's no substance to it. Since this is not true, they won't believe this. They also won't believe other things, such as Kriyas Yamsuf. Don't tell it to Amoritz, because they won't believe it. So, last week we spoke about Vashti's tale, but there are many. I'll just give you one example. By Makas Borod, Rashi brings a medrash that the Rebbeinu Shalom is Igbiya Moshe L'Mala Min HaShamayim. He picked up Moshe to do Makas Borod, and he picked him up above the heavens. A very, very strange medrash. And Mir Hashem, when we get to Parshas Vayera, so I'll explain to you what the medrash means. But it's just to take midrashim like this and tell them to the children is dangerous, because they won't believe it and it undermines their emunah. So I wanted to say that we have a big problem in our community with children that go off the derech. And I understand that the reason they go off the derech is almost never because of philosophical reasons. They go off the derech because they have Yetzer Hara. They go off the derech because they have emotional problems. But if their emunah was solid, if they really, really believed that Rabbi Shalom told Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai that you have to keep Shabbos, it would be very difficult for them to be Mechal Shabbos. But since their emunah may have been undermined by things that they were told in class, so their emunah became shaky. So once they have pressures of emotional problems or Yetzer Hara, then the whole Shmir Shabbos could go right out the door. So I just wanted to point this out of how important it is to be very careful with the emunah of the children. And the emunah, you have to be careful not to do anything. You could tell them a lot of stories, but that's not gonna. Everybody has stories. Christians have stories. Stories. Believe them, you don't believe them. But when you're talking about the Torah and you're talking about midrashim, and you tell them things that this is the Torah, and they don't believe it, that undermines their emunah. Okay, so in Parshas Chayei, Avram Avinu comes back from the Akedah, and he finds that Sarah has passed away, and he has to buy her a caver. And there's the whole story of his Ephraim. He wants to buy the Morris Machpelah, and there's a Machlekes Rishonim in Avos in the 5th Perek Mishnah Gimel. Rashi and the Rambam learned that the 10 Nisyonos, Avram had 10 ordeals, 10 tests that he had to go through, and Rashi and the Rambam both learned that the ultimate test, the last test, was the Akedah. Rabbi says that this was the last test, when he had to go buy a caver for Sarah, and this was a land that Rabbi had promised him, and he had to go buy it from Ephraim and pay him a lot of money. This was his 10th Nisayon. Now, Rashi in Va'era, at the end of Parshas Chayei, Rebbeinu Shalom sends Moshe to Mitzrayim. He goes to meet Paroi, and Paroi gets angry, and he says, now what are you doing? You're making the people that they won't want to work. So now, before we give them food, now they have to go get their own food. So Moshe said to Rebbeinu Shalom, Lama hara yoisa, why did you do bad to the people? Of course, he didn't think that the Gula is not going to come. I mean, the Rebbeinu Shalom told him, Moshe Rabbeinu There was a Navi, and they believed the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Gula is going to come. But why did you have to do bad? Why did they have to have, just now that I come, it gets even worse. So Rashi brings a medrash that says, Chaval al da'avdin v'loy mishtachim. The Rebbeinu Shalom said that, the Avos is Avram, when he had to go buy the caver from Ephraim, it was not Maharach Midoisa. He didn't question me that he had to be put through this. And you say La Maharayosa. So the old ones, too bad that we don't have the old ones, the Avdim V'le Mishtachim, the ones that we lost, and we don't have like them. So, according to Rabbeinu Yoina, we understand why the Rebbeinu Shalom mentions this, because this was the 10th of the Nisyanis. So he mentions this. But according to Rashi and the Rambam, that the 10th Nisyan was the Akedah, and it was all the Nisyanis were over, so why is he bringing this? I mean, of course it wasn't the Nisyan. And the life is full of Nisyanis. So, but why doesn't he say, why do you want me to take Yitzchak to the Akedah? Why did you make me go down to Mitzrayim after I came to Canaan? I mean, why does he pick this thing, which is, at the end, if all the Nisyanis are over, he picks this. So, according to Rabbi Yoina, we understand, because this is the last Nisyan. But according to Rashi and the Rambam, why is the Rebbeinu Shalom point out this particular case where Avram didn't question the Rebbeinu Shalom? I think the pshat's like this. Avram Avinu went through 10 Nisyanis. The Rambam says in the Moira, a Nisyan is a test. When you test, you want to find out something, so you give him a test and you see what's going to come out. The Rebbeinu Shalom didn't need a test to know if Avram was going to pass the Nisyan. He knew what Avram was going to do. He understood. What were the Nisyanis? The Nisyanis were to show for the whole world that how he passed the Nisyanis, that would demonstrate to the whole world how devoted and loyal he was to Rebbeinu Shalom. That was the point of the test. It wasn't to get information which he didn't have, of course. However, I think that the 10 Nisyanis were a process. I don't know if Avram had given the Nisyan of the Akedah, the first one, I don't know if he would have passed it. But each Nisyan was a stage. So first he gave him the first Nisyan, which Rebbeinu Shalom knew he would pass. And when Avram passed it, from that he grew. Rebbeinu Shalom knew he would do it, and he did it, and from that he grew and became bigger. And so the second Nisyan, the third Nisyan, so each Nisyan that he passed, he became bigger and bigger until he reached the 10th Nisyan. He reached the Akedah, and then when he passed demonstrated to the world, passed the 10th Nisyan, then the Rebbeinu Shalom said, Ato yodati ki yirei Elokim ata, now I know that you are Yirei Elokim. So during the 10 Nisyanis, Avram wouldn't question the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom is doing something. He's going through a process of demonstrating to the world that how you have to be devoted to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So there's no question. The Rebbeinu Shalom is giving him a test to show the world what to do. But now, after the 10th Nisyan, and we're finished, and Ata Yodati Ki Yirei Elokim Ata, we know, we come to the conclusion, it's over. And now I need this Nisyan. Then he could have questioned a bunch. What's the point of this Nisyan? The other Nisyanis, I understand what the point is. I'm not going to question. Those Nisyanis are to bring me to a level and to demonstrate to the people the level that I've reached. But now I've reached that level already, and I'm Yirei Elokim. So why do I have to go through this Nisyan? That's what he could have said. But he didn't say it. He didn't question the Rebbeinu Shalom. Moshe Rabbeinu, when, he was cared very much for Klal Yisrael, and he killed the Mitzri and had to run away. The Rebbeinu Shalom sent him, and he told him, you're going to go, you're going to redeem Klal Yisrael, you're going to take him out of Mitzrayim. He knew that this was true. He knew. He knew what's going to happen. And he comes down to Mitzrayim, and he's here already, and he's standing by Paroi, and everything is all set to go, and now it gets worse. So that it got worse didn't make him question whether it's going to come, the Gula has actually come to pass. Of course not. But he said, but why? What's the point of at the last point it should get worse? Why? That was his question to Rabbi Shalom. So therefore, it really is comparable to this. You couldn't compare it to the Nisyonis. The Nisyonis, there was no reason to question. Moshe Rabbeinu all along, he knew about the Bris Bein Habsarim. He knew what was going on. There was no reason to question. But it's over. I'm here. I'm being paid to Klal Yisrael. I'm confronting Paroi. Why all of a sudden do we have to have a dip at the end? That's what the Rabbi Shalom said. You and Maharach Midoisai. This point you didn't understand. You knew the whole process. This point you didn't understand. So you asked me a question. Avram asked me no questions, even though the decisions were over, and then he went through this and so on. He had no questions. So it's possible that Rabbeinu Yoina really is an interesting shita. He's saying that this was the final Nisayan. I mean, you would think that the Akeda is the final Nisayan. You know, Hatziyadati Kiril Kimata. This is a Nisayan. Yeah, you have to go by a kever. But why is this the ultimate Nisayan? Why is this the 10th? Teretz is. And by the way, that Rashi in Va'era brings a medrash. It's a Gemara Sanhedrin of Kufir Aleph Amar Aleph, and Rabbi Yoina knew that Gemara, of course. So Rabbi Yoina is saying the ultimate test was that after it's all over, you don't ask any questions. That was the final Nisayan. Everything, and at the end it's all over, and then you have another Nisayan. No, he didn't ask any questions. That's when Avram finished. When he did everything and he had no questions. Okay, now, so what happened here? So he wanted to buy a caver, the Marzamach Pelis. So it says Avram came to the Bnei Ches. He said, I need a caver. They said, yeah, listen, take whatever you want, any caver you want. The Seal Kimata. You're very chashiv. You could take anything you want. No, not going to charge you anything. Then he says to them, "Can you please speak to Ephraim for me?" So they take Ephraim, and Rashi says they take Ephraim to elevate him, to make him into a shoiter, to give him a position, a government position. And why does Avram have to tell them to talk to Ephraim? Why didn't he go directly to Ephraim? He said, please, Pigu li b'Ephraim, b'Tzeichar, talk to Ephraim for me. Why did he have to do this? And then Ephraim says to him, no, I'm not going to charge you anything. Beni Bencha, Rashi says, Ben Shlei Havim, 2 friends. How did they become friends? They never even met. Now they met, all of a sudden, we're 2 friends. And then Rashi says that at the end he charged them $400, 400 shkolim, like really good shkolim. And Rashi says that he said harbe, and he didn't even do ma'at. First he says he's given them for free, and then he charges them full price. Now, this whole negotiation, this whole episode happened in the full public. Everybody was there, all the people. And the Bnei Ches told him you can have it for free. And he also said you can have it for free. Now that he says, I want to pay, so he said he wants 400 shekel. Was that overpriced? Was it really worth 200 shekel and he's charging him 400 shekel? I don't think so, because how would he get up? How would he have the nerve and the chutzpah to get up into front of everybody and say, okay, I'm going to charge you, but I'm going to double. I'm going to overcharge you. So I would think that the price that he charged was list price. It was full price. So what's wrong with that? What should he do? He should give Avram a discount? Why should he give him a discount? Avram was a rich man. Avram didn't want to take a shoelace from Melchstein. He wouldn't want a discount. So he gives him the price. This is the price. The price is 400 shkolim. That's what he charged him. Why is that tafilu mat ein oisa? So, let's take a closer look at what's going on here. V'yanu b'nei Ches. He came to the b'nei Ches. V'ydaber b'nei Ches. He spoke to the b'nei Ches. So they said, you can take it. there are three players in this drama besides Avram. There's the Bnei Ches, there's the Am Haaretz, and there's Ephraim. Now, let's see how they fit in here. So the Bnei Ches told them, you can take whatever you want. So then, Vayokom Avram v'yishtachu Am Haaretz l'Bnei Ches. Now he's talking to the Am Haaretz, which means the people, the peasants, and to the Bnei Ches. And then he says, go talk to Ephraim. So Ephraim Yosef v'soich Bnei Ches. Ephraim is now among the Bnei Ches. What are the Bnei Ches? He's sitting among the Bnei... the Ches was one of the Shiva Ummahs, but what is this Bnei Ches here? He's sitting among the people of Ches, and he said, Ba'aznei Bnei Ches, l'chol boi shar iroi. He said in front of Bnei Ches, and all the people that came, that means including the Am Haaretz, no, lo yadon shmeini, asot nesati loch, v'Am Haaretz shar boi, l'chon satil einei bnei ami, satil loch. I'm giving to you in front of the Am Haaretz. Vayishtachu Avram lifnei Am Haaretz. Well, now Avram is looking to the Am Haaretz. Vaydaber Ephraim ba'oznei Am Haaretz. Now he's talking ba'oznei Am Haaretz. So then he says, Arba mei shekel beini v'noch mahi. So Vayishma Avram al Ephraim, and gave him the money. Asher diber ba'oznei Bnei Ches, Arba mei shekel. Once again, the Bnei Ches. Here's the Am Haaretz. Now he's talking ba'oznei Bnei Ches. And then he bought it from him. And at the end it says, Vayokom hasodav v'amor asher bo l'Avram lachuzas kover me'ez b'nei Ches. Now, if he bought it from Ephraim and lachuzas kover me'ez b'nei Ches, what does this mean? So, who are the b'nei Ches? So we find in Toldos, Rivka says to Yitzchak, Kasti b'chaya mipnei b'nois Ches imlekech Yaakov isha mipnois Ches. I feel I'm going to be disgusted if Yaakov ends up marrying the b'nois Ches. V'yikar Yitzchak al Yaakov v'yivarach Isai v'yitzavei, he told him, Leisikach isha mipnois Knan. Don't take from b'nois Knan. So she says b'nois Ches, and he says don't take from b'nois Knan. And then you have before Esav got married. This is before the brachas. Vayikach isha es Yehudas bas Be'eri hachiti, ve'es Basmas bas Eloin hachiti. So he married two women. Both of them were mibnois Ches. But in Parshas Vayishlach, when we go through the genealogy of Esav, so he married Esav lokach es noshav mibnois Knan, es Odo bas Eloin hachiti, vas Elivama bas Ona bas Sivoin hachivi. So his wives, one was a Chiti, one was a Chivi. And here in Toldos, they're both Chitim. Also have different names. One is Yehudas bas Be'eri, one is Basnas bas Eloin. And here they have different names. So what is going on here? So Sforno says in our Parsha that the Bnei Ches, they were like the Shoitrim, they were the government officials. But he understands this from the Psukim that Bnei Ches seemed to be like the powerful, the elite, and Ephraim Yosef v'soich Bnei Ches, he was elevated that day because of Avram's covenant that he should be among the Bnei Ches. But in the archaeologists 100 years ago discovered something that wasn't known, that there was a Hittite empire, an empire of Chitim, a huge empire in this time, during this age, which wasn't known, and this empire stretched from Turkey down through Syria, Lebanon, and through Canaan. That was a Hittite empire. The capital was Hattusa. It's near Borgaskoy today in Turkey. This was a big discovery about 100 years ago. Now, the Chitim were the imperial power. They controlled all of Eretz Yisrael. So anybody that worked for the government was called a Chiti. Anybody that was part of the nobility, part of the elite, was called a Chiti. Just like when England conquered India and made it an English colony, a British colony. So there were locals that worked for the government. They worked for the British, and they were called the British because even though ethnically they were Indians, but they were British because they were part of the power structure. They were part of the government. So the Chitim were the ones that controlled Eretz Yisrael at this time, and anybody that worked for the Chitim was called a Chiti. That means you were part of the nobility, part of the government. So Rivka said to Yitzchak that you shouldn't, that Katzi B'chayim, if it's going to take B'nai Ches, Rivka thought if he's going to take a local girl, he's going to take one of the noble women. I mean, they were a noble family. He didn't think that that Yaakov would take a peasant girl from Canaan, from one of the other nations that lived in Canaan. The dominant nation was the Chiti, and the Chiti controlled everything. So she didn't think that he would do that. So she said, I don't want him to take B'nai Ches. He's going to go take a local noblewoman, and I don't want him to do that. So Yitzchak called Yaakov and told him, don't take B'nai Canaan. Don't take anybody from here. Not even the noblewomen. Don't take a peasant girl either. Don't take anybody from Canaan. I want you to go to Choron. That's what the Chitim are. So getting back to our parsha, so Avram was the nobleman. Avram was very wealthy, Sialakim, a prince, and he needed to get a caver. So he wants to buy the Mars Machpelah, and he knows that Ephraim has it, but it's not fitting that Avram should go negotiate directly with Ephraim, who's a peasant. Ephraim was a peasant. Why should I negotiate with Ephraim? So he went to the Bnei Ches, and he told them, I need a caver. And they said, yeah, you could take whatever you want. So he said, please talk to me, to Ephraim, because Ephraim is the one that has what I need. And I need to. So what did they do? They took Ephraim, they elevated him to a position, B'soich Bnei Ches. They made him part of the government, part of the imperial power. So therefore, it's fitting for Avram to talk to Ephraim. So he brought Ephraim and elevated him. So Ephraim says, Beni Beinecha, he says, I'm giving it to you. Oh, okay, fine. So later, so he elevated him. So he said, no, I've become a Chiti now. And the Chitim have like a custom that if another Chiti comes and asks for a caver, they give it to him for free. It's kind of a noblesse oblige to other nobles. This is the Derech Kavod. You're a nobleman, I'm a nobleman. You need a piece of land for a caver. I'm not going to charge you. It's free. So that's what they told him. You could have anything you want for free. So Ephraim now is a Chiti. So he tells him it's not a Chiti. It's everything for free. So Avram told, Vayishtachu Avram lifnei Amoretz. He bowed down and he indicated that he wants to do this the way the Amoretz does, the way the peasants do it. That's what he wants to do. I don't want this noblesse oblige from one nobleman to another. I want to buy it the way the custom is the Amoretz. So Ephraim said, Beni Beinecha Mahi. We're friends. What does it mean we're friends? It doesn't mean the actual friends. It means that they're both noblemen. We are both of the same class. So if I'm of the noble class and you're a noble class, I'm giving it to you for free. That's the custom, what nobility does. So Avram said, no, I don't want, I want to pay. So he said, okay, you want to pay Arba Me'ah shekel. So the price is Arba Me'ah shekel. Arba Me'ah shekel was the list price. But that was the list price when one chiti sells to another. When a peasant sells a piece of land to another peasant, he doesn't charge him Arba Me'ah shekel. He charges him 200 shekel. But anytime, you buy the same suitcase, you could buy it in Target to cost so much, and you go buy it in some kind of upscale store, it'll cost you 4 times as much, because when you're dealing on that level, the prices are higher. So if a peasant sells you a piece of property, he charges you whatever a peasant charges. When a nobleman sells you a piece of property, he charges you a nice amount of money. So Avram said, I want to pay for it. I want to pay for it, as is the custom of the Amoratzim, of the Amoritz, of the peasants. I want to pay. So Ephraim said, okay, you want to pay? The price is $400, the Chiti price. So that's what he's saying. He said, I'll give it to you for free. And then if you want to sell it to me in the custom of the Amoratzim, the custom of the peasants, you're going to sell it to me according to their custom, because you insist. Okay, so I'm selling it to you. I want a Chiti price. So I feel mat la yasa. That's this ma'aseh. The point of all this, what lessons we're meant to learn with it. The Svarim speak about this. My purpose here right now is just to learn the psukim and understand all this back and forth with the chitim and Amoratzim and Ephraim, what was going on over here. Interesting, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that during these talks, I would like to also point out certain things to refute the assertions of the Bible critics that the Torah was written 1,000 years after Matan Torah. So over here, when he bought the land, Vayokom Steyefren Asher Machpelah, V'Amora Asher Bo, he bought the cave, the Moras Machpelah, V'Chol Ha'et Asher Basada, all the trees Asher B'Chol Gvulim Misavev. He bought the entire Shetach. Why did he buy the entire Shetach? Why did Avram buy it? Why did Ephraim sell it? He just needed the Mora. Why did he buy the whole property? Why? So again, we turn to once they discovered the Hittite Empire, and there was a tremendous trove of cuneiform tablets from which the archaeologists learned the Hittite laws and customs. One law that they had was that if a person sells part of his field to another person, the seller is responsible for the taxes of the entire field. So Ephraim wouldn't sell him the Moras Machpelah because it's not going to be his anymore, and he's still going to have to pay taxes for it. So he only said, I'll sell you the Moras Machpelah if you buy the entire Shetach. This is something that I think is pretty clear, that he had to buy the whole Shetach. Now, this is because of this ancient Hittite law. If the Torah was written 1,000 years later, nobody even remembered that there was a Hittite Empire. Nobody knew ancient Hittite laws. How would they know such a thing? That when you buy Moras Machpelah, you have to buy the whole land. So again, this shows you that the Torah was written in its time. Many indications. And as we go through the parashas, I'll try to show them as we come across them. Now, at the end, Lachuzas kever, he bought the kever from Ephraim, and Achuzas kever he bought from Bnei Ches. What does that mean? I think I saw in one of the Svarim, I'm not sure which one, that Achuzas kever means that it's dedicated to a cemetery. This is something that only the government could do. The government could say, this is zoned for a cemetery. You can't do anything else with it. So not only did he buy the kever, but he bought he got it from the Bnei Ches, from the ruling government. He got from them a decree that this property is miyuchid and mugdash to be Beis HaKvaros. So this was a protection for him. Why? Because you see in the previous parsha before the Akedah, when the whole business with Avram and Avimelech with the Beiros, so finally he got this bear, he dug it, it's his. And he put down 7 kvasim by the bear, le'eda, as proof that it's his. So he had his kvasim, I guess they were recognizable as Avram's kvasim, and he put them down by the bear. So this was a proof that it's his. I mean, those kvasim, I mean, how long are they going to live? Eventually, either somebody's going to shech them or they're going to die. I mean, what kind of a proof is that? But the point is that in those days, in the whole Sefer Bereshis, we don't find writing. Writing there was no writing yet at that time. They had cuneiform tablets in certain places, but those were not regular writing. That was like a whole special process. But normally he didn't have writing. So he made a deal and he bought, and they agreed that this be'er belongs to Avram. How is he going to prove it? So he put down the 7 kvasim, so people will see them, and they'll see them for whatever it is, for a month or a year or whatever it is. So it's going to be etched in their minds that this is Avram's be'er, and it's not going to, somebody's going to come along and say it's his. No, we know that it's Avram's be'er. So we base it with, the whole point was the memory, to remember that it was Avram's. This fixed it in the memory of the public that it belonged to Avram. That was the point of those 7 kvasim. So over here, when it comes to buying Moras Machpelah, Avram didn't have a deed that was recorded in the township. He just bought it from Ephron. He paid him and he bought it in public. So everybody knew that he bought it. But what would be, as time goes on, maybe some people will come along and say, no, it's not yours. How would he secure his purchase? So he secured his purchase by having the Bnei Ches to designate this area, that this piece has to be a cemetery. So people are not going to want to buy it. They're not going to be able to plant any crops on it. So it's not likely that he's going to have iron, that people that would dispute his ownership, because what are they going to do with it? All they could do with it is bury somebody. So this was like another layer of protection for his purchase. He bought the Moras Machpelah, but the Achuzas Kever, he got that from the Bnei Ches, not from Ephron. Ephron was not empowered to do that. The Bnei Ches did that, and they said it's Achuzas Kever. So I just want to conclude with one thing. Again, another thing with these Bible critics say is that it's something called an anachronism. That you tell a story and there's that detail in the story which could not have been possible at that time. Now, if you would say that George Washington made a revolt against the British and he captured all the airfields, there were no airfields, so that's called an anachronism. So they say that there were no camels in this period, because in the archaeological excavations, there were camels, but they were wild. They weren't domesticated. And in the settlements, in the excavations of these ancient settlements, they don't find any camel bones, which indicates that people didn't have camels. Today, every Muhammad, Ahmed, and Khalid in Saudi Arabia has camels. But in those days, they didn't have camels. So how could there be camels? So I just want to answer this. They did find royal scarabs of camels.
Eliezer had camels with...
What? Eliezer went to, at the end of the Parsha, Eliezer went to get a shidduch. He came with 10 camels. So were they camels? So I think what were camels? Camels were like... normally people didn't have camels. Camels were like a royal thing, like a king would have elephants, so he would have camels. It wasn't something that everybody had. Where's the first time we find camels in the Torah? By Paro. He went with Sarah, and he gave him presents, and he gave him camels. So Paro was a king, he had camels, so he gave Avram camels. So he ended up having camels. But when he went to the Akedah, he didn't go with a camel, he went with a donkey. Why did he go with a donkey? A camel is a much easier, much faster ride. He had camels. Why didn't he go with the camels? There it says, because the camels were like a Rolls Royce, and you leave it in the garage, and people around you don't have camels. You don't go with a camel. So he went with a donkey, and the camels he had, it was part of his wealth, that he owned camels, but he didn't use them. But when it came over here, so what were they looking for, Besuel and Lavan? They're looking for a rich shidduch. he came and he didn't tell them that Avram was a tzaddik. He didn't tell him he was a gam chasadim. He told him yesh lo rav. He has a lot of money, and he gave this money. He signed it over to Yitzchak that it's going to go to Yitzchak, and this is a really good rich shidduch. And so that's what attracted them, that it was a rich shidduch. So because Rivka's family, they were interested in the rich shidduch, and they told him how rich he was. So in order to impress the mechatanim, the prospective in-laws, so he took the camels out of the stables where he kept them. He didn't use them where he kept them, and he told Eliezer, take these 10 camels and go to Haran, and that's going to impress them tremendously. Who has camels? This must be a billionaire, must be very, very wealthy, and they're going to do the shidduch. Thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you next week.